Hello everybody, I just wanted to show you the oldest Royal Enfield I own, and it is a 1953 Royal Enfield 700 Meteor. This is 1953, so it's 72 years old, and it is one of the very first ones. It's the first of the big twins. It was released at the motorcycle show in November 1952. Got to get my facts it right here. And 1953 was the first production year, and that's what this is. So, why is it a 700? Why did they do a 700? Well, they used a bullet frame and brought out in 1948 a 500 twin, which was quite a long stroke twin, but it was all in a bullet frame, and it was just called the 500 twin. It didn't have a name, and that was quite successful. You know, it's a lot more performance than the standard old bullet, that's for sure, even the 500 bullet, and it sold well. And I think they made that up to about 1957, I think, sometime like that. And then the Meteor came out and superseded it. But the boffins at Royal Enfield weren't long looking at the 500 twin and said, you know, if we kept the same stroke and just opened the bores up in the cylinders, we could make this a 700. And that's basically what they did. And the reason they did it is because all the big manufacturers, Triumph, Norton, BSA and all the rest of them, they were all moving away from 500s and starting to come out with 650 twins. Well, Royal Enfield skipped that bit and went straight to a 700. And at the time, that's the caveat, is at the time it was the biggest capacity British twin you could buy at the time. So they had a bit of an edge, and they did sell in good numbers, you know. And then the Super Meteor came out, and they upped the compression and altered the cams and ported the head out a little bit to make it breathe a bit better. Yes, so that's how it all came about. You're going to have to excuse the seat on this, because this is a modern seat and it's only a stopgap thing until I can get the right seat. And it doesn't... they came out of the factory with the single seat, and somebody's cut the lugs off this underneath. So there's no lugs for the nose of the single saddle, so I mean I can weld those back on if I want to put a single saddle back on, but I don't know. I'm going to see that you could get a deal seat for them, but there's no mounting brackets on the back here to take the back mounts for the seat. That's why the back end here is not bolted down. So there we are. A big old twin. Still got the casket on the front, like they did. All familiar forks, and it's got a single leading shoe front brake in one side of the hub only. Super Meteors and stuff like that had the twin sided one, and this has only got the single sided one. It's coil ignition, there's no magneto. And it's got a strange system for driving the little distributor. This because it's driven off the dynamo gear, and there are no parts for these whatsoever. Yeah, if that goes, you're going to be struggling. You know, the only thing you could do then is to take this off here and then just put an Indian distributor on, straight on, but then you lose your dynamo, so you've got to find a way of getting it to charge, because to put an alternator on this, There's not enough room in the casing to put an alternator on. You can put one on, there's not a problem to put one on, but you're going to have to change the cases for later ones, and I didn't want to do that. This is sort of very simple shape, could do with a good polish, but there we are. Yes, so the engine number is T710-290, which is quite an early number. So this is pretty much the beginning of it all. There's various things on this bike that aren't original. The toolboxes, these are the later ones that are, you know, they sort of slightly dish out. The original ones, the 50s ones, are flat. They've got a flat, they're just flat plate on the front. I think I like these better, to be quite honest with you. That's why they're still on there. So I've got some transfers to come on, fit on Meteor 700, and one that goes on the back of the number plate. It says Royal Enfield in gold. Yeah, it's a nice old mellow bike. That would do about 90, 95 on a good day. But it's more about the torque. I mean, they're only 36 horsepower, that's about all they are. And it's not about that, it's about the torque. And they were sold in quite good numbers for sidecar work, because they had that much torque. And they sold well for that. In fact, I had a Meteor with a sidecar on it back in the day. I think I mentioned that in another video. The carburetor is a concentric, which is not right for it, but it works well, so it's staying on temporarily. It's a new one of the Premier ones. I'm not sure it's the right diameter really. I'll take it off and have a look at some point. The reason you can see the coil is because the air filter's missing. There's bolts in there. So that will have to be found at some point. It's got the early type gearbox, as you can see, where the actuation for the push rod is on the outside. And I'm going to have to clip this somewhere because it's behind the neutral lever and it's going to play up. You know it's going to wear it out. The difference between this and the later boxes is the kickstart spring's external, so you can get to it, just take the kickstart off and then you can get at it if you need to replace it. Not like the other one where you've got to take the whole casing off. Another difference is the oil filters in there. On the later ones there's a separate part of the crankcase, and the oil filter bolts in the end, same cap and everything. Yes, so it's a nice old thing really. What else can I tell you about it? It's just a nice old bike to ride. It is, you know, it's quite flickable. It doesn't weigh much more than a bullet, but it's got a lot more go. A lot more go. I'm changing that Lucas light. It's too small. It worries me, that does. I'm going to put a later 50s Lucas light on it. It's probably right for it at some point, but the shock absorbers are not original, but they're near enough, good enough. Yeah, so it's dynamo charging, not alternator, and you've got a little red light that comes on when, just like an ignition light on a car. You know, if it's not charging, you know, if you're ticking over or something like that and it's not charging, the little red light will come on. No problems with the speedo with these because it's chronometric, a proper chronometric. But it is a bullet frame still. There's very few differences. And you can tell this is a Redditch frame because it's got a tapered tube on the front, where the Indian ones didn't. And this is another giveaway for the bullets and these. If the frame curves up like that and is welded on, that's a Redditch frame. And if it's got a straight piece out there and a bolt through it like that, through here, that's an Indian one. Because we never made the T, what they call the T frame. This is called the U frame because it's like a U. We never made the T frame over here. So yeah, well, there we are. Better see if we can start it, I suppose. I don't know how old the petrol is now. Let's get the petrol on. Petrol on. Give it a quick tickle up. That's that. Ignition on. And so she'll kick off. Somewhere in the compression. No baffles in it, they're just straight through, but I like to hear them. You can actually see the oil going, returning back to the tank here. I just thought I'd do a quick video of it, as the oldest Royal Enfield I own. Turn the petrol off. Yeah, it's just a nice old bike. Yeah, it's got a good load of torque in it, and you know, when you ride it, it just leaps along, you know, in a gentle sort of way, but a nice sort of way. It's not ferocious power, you know. Yeah, so a 73-year-old Royal Enfield, that's the oldest one I got. I haven't got anything older than that. Don't really want anything older than that, really. So it's well and truly tax and MOT exempt. Being an old pensioner, it is. But yeah, oh well, there you go. I don't know what else to tell you about it, really. Just let you look at it for a bit, I suppose. Speedo's driven off the rear wheel, as Redditch ones were, and that will be a genuine Smith Speedo drive as well, so that'll give good service, that's for sure. Yeah, okay, well, there you go. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.